Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to do another video today, but this time on figures and get a little bit more in depth. I know that if you've watched my last two videos, it's kind of been related to figures. Basically like finding counterfeits and like what to look for. A good website to reference for kind of finding counterfeits. And a few, well, basically one website in general not to use to buy figures from. If you haven't seen those, I'll put them in the description. You can check them out. If you think of any other websites that you've personally encountered counterfeits on, you feel free to comment on those videos or this video or whatever, and I can add them or whatever. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So there's basically when it comes to figures, there's really three kinds that you can get. I only have two of them in front of me. I'm not that big of a fan of the third one, so I don't really own any of them. But I do have a picture of it on the laptop over here, so that way I can still show it. But anyways, yeah, so without further ado, let's get into what the three kinds of figures are. We'll start from this side and we'll just kind of work across. So anyways, so with that said, so first off, we have the Nendroids of the figure collection. These are done by Good Smile Company, and pretty exclusively Good Smile Company. They have a ton of them out now. Some of them are more popular than others, some of them more expensive than others, but they generally start at around $50 for a Nendroid. And if you happen to get a rare one or whatever, they can go up from there. Some of them can even be like $100, but anyways, there's a ton of them. One of the most popular ones is always Snow Miku. I have a ton of her. I have a ton of pretty much all kinds of Snow Miku and some regular Miku, racing Miku. But anyways, so she's kind of my most common Nendroid. She's actually the only Nendroid that I really have, just because I'm not a huge fan of Nendroids either. But anyways, so Nendroids are basically figures that are small in scale. They're pretty cheap, about, like I said, about $40. They're basically almost the cheapest of them of figures. And they're kind of posable. Not always, but usually they're posable in some way. Like her joints are actually pretty much stayed put, but she does have a lot of, let's move you for a second. She does have a lot of other little features that you can do. So like you can take off this little hat, for example, if you wanted to. And she has her little pigtails that you can put on instead. Her head turns a little bit, so she's semi-posable in that aspect. But so she does come with different faces, though. These are the things that Nendroids have that kind of make them unique. Is different faces that they come with, different hands that they come with. So you can kind of completely change them out. She actually comes with different arms, which is why hers aren't posable. A little umbrella accessory, and a little rabbit. And just bunch of stuff that you can basically change her into, and just kind of customize it a bit more. Now some of the Nendroids are actually posable, so like she's fairly stiff jointed with the exception of her head. She's not that posable, but some of them actually are pretty posable, and they usually come with a little stand that helps hold them in place. She'll actually kind of stay in place on her own. So I'm sure there's one in there if I poked around. But she comes with a whole lot of accessories, which many of there it is right there. Which many of the Snow Mikus do. I don't really want to move this because it will all fall out. But yeah, so there's more accessories underneath there. Her ponytail or her pigtails and her base and all that kind of stuff is also underneath everything. So she has really a lot of accessories. And a lot of the Snow Mikus do have a ton of accessories. So gonna get that back in later. So anyways, yeah. So this is a Nendroid, really small. So next we'll move to the scale figures. Sorry about that noise, that probably sounded wonderful. So these are what I just call scale figures. They're all kind of scaled, but I know these ones specifically more as scaled. And I call them scale figures. They're also non-poseable figures, I guess, if you want to call them that. Because they're non-poseable because they're not poseable. They're made of usually like a PVC, plastic kind of like combination. Some of them have different materials, a little bit of rubber or rubberized things, whatever. But these are scale figures. It's usually about a 1/7 scale. 1/8 scale is a pretty common scale. And what that actually means is if Miku was real, if she was a full-size person, this figure would be 1/8 of her scale, moving down. So a 1/1 scale is as big as she would be in real life. That's an actual scale. So the biggest I've seen of any figure, I think it was a Sonico, and she was a 1/2 scale, I think. So she was almost there. And that was an expensive figure to buy. People do have it somewhere, but yeah. Anyways, so they do come really big. There's little 1/4 scales that a company called Freeing does a lot of, but I don't have too many of those. But anyways, so this is a scaled figure, PVC, non-poseable, whatever you prefer to call it. What I do like about these figures and why these are my preferred figures to buy is the detail on them. The detail cannot be beat. These are just such wonderful figures to look at and to own that I tend to just buy these. Now they're expensive, so they're not for everybody. You're looking at $40 for Nendroids. Your average for a scale figure or PVC figure like this is anywhere between $100 and as the scale goes up, even if it doesn't, a figure depending on how it's designed and stuff can be at $200 for a 1/8 scale figure. But they can go all the way up to like $400 or whatever. And then, like I said, if it's rare, it can go up even more from that, depending on how many they've produced. So, these figures tend to be really expensive and they can add up really quickly. The other thing about these is they also get, actually, when you pre-order them, they actually get delayed a lot. Just because of the sheer detail and stuff that goes into them. They're not always able to meet the production date. So they will actually get delayed a lot. So just be prepared for that, for those delays. But yeah, this is my preferred figure type that I will buy, is just the scaled. And you can of course just see like the detail in these figures. Her glove, her hair, it's kind of clear. It has little snowflakes basically on it. This is a snow Miku. So this is my poison right here. Is the scaled figures. So the last kind of figure that I want to talk about is one called a Figma. And that one's a Max Factory figure usually. But I don't really like them that much. One of the biggest things is because they have doll joints basically. And I'll show you what that is right now if I can. Yeah, so this is a scale. This is a Figma. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. But it has basically joints on it, so they're fully posable. But I don't like how the joints look on them. they're still really cool. They're really detailed, and they're fairly cheap, but they're like more of a mid tier. I think they can go Nendroid price to like $70 or so maybe. But again, I'm not that big of a fan of the poseable joints that they've got. It just doesn't, I don't know. So it doesn't really appeal to me. I don't really own that many of them. I think I own like one, and it's, I think, in storage. So I don't really own that many of these specific kinds of figures. Most of mine is, like I said, the PVC figure. But this is the third kind of figure that you can own. So that would be about it for that. So now for people like looking to just start collecting, it all depends on what you have space for, and what you want and how much you want to spend. You obviously need a lot more space to have a figure like this than you do for a figure like the Nendroid or even the Figma, which comes with a much smaller base and takes up much less room. You know, her base is not as big as this one's base or this one's base. So you'd be able to get her to stay. She's got a massive base. So obviously the space taken for these is a lot more. And it's not going to work if you want to get into them and you want to have room for many. As you can see behind me, I kind of have a lot of different ones. And this is like 25% of my collection. I have way too many figures. So the rest of them are in storage. But yeah, so if you have a lot of space and you make decent money, or you want to spend some of your hard-earned money and you save or whatever, then you can get these PVC figures, the scale ones, non-poseable. You won't be disappointed. If you're a new collector, or you just don't have the space, or you're, or the money, or anything like that, but you still want to collect them, then I would definitely recommend you get the Nindroids. They're small, easy to collect, easy to store. You can go to IKEA, get a glass shelf, do it up nicely or whatever, and you can fit a ton of these in there. Whereas you can maybe only fit like 3 or 4 of these in each shelf. So, again, it's all about what you want. Same thing with the Figmas. If you like posing your figures, if you like doing something cool with them, and you also don't want to spend a ton of money, things like that, but you still want to have something cool, then you can get the Figma. Those are also another valid choice. It just comes down to personal taste. If you're like me and you don't like the ball joints, then you can just don't get the Figma, because they do have the ball joints on them. So yeah, anyways, that's about it for this video. That wraps that up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I do my best to reply to all of them. However, YouTube doesn't always notify me that you guys leave comments. I don't know why. So sometimes I might miss a comment, but I usually try to check my YouTube Studio app at least once a week to try and catch up and see if I missed anything that it didn't notify me about. So if it does not notify me, hopefully I'll get a response to you as soon as possible, but you can always just leave a comment below. As always, if you like this video, then give me a thumbs up, please. And subscribe to the channel if you like it. Share it around. If you know someone who's into or wants to start collecting figures, you can send them this as kind of like a guide. Other than that, I hope you guys all have a great day. Yeah, have a good day.